Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry this is a little bit late. I did not realize that I couldn't record unless I logged on to my other school email. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Professor Bauer. Recording right now in our home office. So I'm going to try and go through this budget project with you. Usually when I introduce this during the course, it's a little bit easier to do it in person so kids can kind of ask questions. So I'm going to record this and then I'll post it. And then if you guys have any individual questions, feel free to ask me. First thing I want to let you know is please do not worry about this. It may seem like it's super overwhelming, but it isn't. It's awesome. I've been doing this class for about 6 years now, and I do the budget every year project, and the kids really in the end up enjoying it. So I'm going to go through this. Some kids are logging in, logging out, maybe not, but if you have questions, let me know. Sorry for the quality of the video, but if you have questions, just let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to present my entire screen and getting ready to share it. Yes, I'm going to share it. Okay, so here we go. It gets ready to go through. I'm going to go through all of these steps. So if you guys have questions, type whatever you need to do. All right. So the first thing I want you guys to take a look at, of course, is going to be the post for it. So it's going to be right here, which is the budget project, but it's also under assignments as well. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to click it. And I'm going to go through this, all the directions, and then I'm going to give you guys some examples. So for the budget assignment, this is called Dave Ramsey's Zero-Based Budget. The new year is upon us, and like most people, that means budgeting. And by following Dave Ramsey's Zero-Based Budget, you're going to be prepared for both regular and easy-to-forget expenses throughout the year. Creating a budget is key to feeling more confident and becoming a confident customer. You will start to know that you can purchase items that you can actually pay for. You can start giving, you can start saving, and better yet, you'll become financially set. Research shows that people who follow a zero-based budgeting system like this one pay off 19% more debt and save 18% more money than those who don't. If you've got 30 minutes to spare each month, you can reach and even succeed your financial goals. Stick with this budget and you might move on to something else on top of your resolution list next year. Dave Ramsey. So by the end of this 3-month-long assignment, you should be able to say that you can do the following. I can. You're going to create a monthly cash flow plan. Create an allocated spending plan, which I'll discuss. You're going to balance your checkbook on a regular basis, and you're going to keep track of all your spending, whether you use an app, a website, or paper. Okay? So some things to note about this. Presentation is key. Neatness does count. Since we are meeting solely online this semester, everything is going to be submitted electronically. Okay? If something isn't working, let me know. Ask questions, and feel free to contact me for help. Okay? Part 1, monthly cash flow plan. So before you begin tracking your spending, you have to create a budget, and you're going to use Dave Ramsey's monthly cash flow plan to begin this assignment. Now, all of you guys have your textbooks. So what I would suggest that you do is take a look and reread chapter 2, pages 32 to 33 on budgeting. Okay, that's the first thing you're going to want to do. And then if you flip over to page 44 to 47, it's going to show you how to complete your monthly cash flow plan. All right. Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to download this free digital copy of the monthly cash flow plan. You're going to fill it out and you're going to complete it. So that's the first thing you're going to do. After you do that, you're going to do your allocated spending plan. Okay. And this is where you are going to track your entire spending for the entire month of March. Okay. You'll need to create one of these to track all your expenses. Now you can actually use this one that's included in your textbook, or you can use any other method, okay? So the purpose of this is for you to actually see how much money you're spending as the weeks go by, making sure your money is being allocated where it's supposed to. All right, now this is the part where it gets a little bit confusing. Notice it just says March. We are only doing the tracking for March, all right? You're going to create one of these, and the example is for a month in your textbook. And if you have an irregular income, which I'll discuss in a second, you're going to use that, okay? Now, requirements for this project. You're going to have to type this up, and you're going to do a cover page. You're going to have your name, your class, your date, and your project title. You're going to have a monthly cash flow plan. This could be typed or scanned. If you are handwriting this, it has to be legible. I'll show you mine in a second, which would not be legible. Notice, you also need a reflection or a persuasive paper, however you want to go about this. It should be about 3 pages, double-spaced, a 12-inch font. And the topic of your paper is write about, honestly, how this impacted you on a personal level. Choose whether you thought this was good or a poor assignment. You can do a little bit of both. You must include your personal thoughts along with direct quotes from the textbook, online podcasts, etc. to back up your personal thoughts. Statistics and facts can also be included, but you have to include your references. If you do not want to include any references, that's fine. It's not part of the requirement for the paper. But if you do any quotes or facts or anything, you need a reference page, okay? And if you guys have questions on that, you can let me know. Notice it's posted now, but it is not due until April 19th, okay? Now, something I want to make sure that I emphasize, we are doing this over the course of the semester, okay? But you only need to choose 1 month to do this. So this example is March because usually average kids like to do this in March because spring break and all that stuff. But with COVID, if you wanted to do this just in February, you could do this just for the entire month of February. If you wanted to do this just for the month of March, you can do this for the month of March. Now, you won't be able to do April because it's due the 19th. So you're going to choose either February or you're going to choose March. Okay, so I hope that part makes some sense. All right, now I'm going to go through and I'm going to actually give you guys some examples and show you how you're going to complete your budget assignment. All right, so I am going to open up this monthly cash flow plan. Allow multiple files. Sure, why not? Okay, so this is what you are going to fill out, whether you're going to choose to do this in February or you're going to choose to do this in March. This is the exact example in your textbook. Okay. This is a Dave Ramsey budget form, okay? There's tons of them out there. You can kind of go about whatever you want after this project, but I want you to see Dave Ramsey's form and how he does it, okay? So there's lots of blanks. We're going to go through this, and there's going to be a lot of blanks because a lot of you guys are still undergraduate students. You are in a different lifestyle than you are, you know, say myself. I've been graduated since 2009. I own a house. I just had a daughter. So mine's going to look a lot different, and that's okay. But I want to go through and show you guys how you're going to fill this out. So you have this option, which I think is honestly the easiest, and this is what I do every month. When I get in the swing of this, I print this off. So the first thing I gotta do is I would print off all 3 of these pages. I prefer to do it the paper route, so I would print it off and then I would handwrite it, okay? Some of you guys might choose to print this off and then type it, whatever you want. It's totally up to you, okay? But the first thing you are going to do is you're going to enter your monthly take-home pay in the box at the top right. So if I flip over to page 2, this is your monthly take-home pay, okay? Now, the biggest question I get every single time is, how do I figure that out, okay? Some of you guys might not work. Some of you guys might work. Some of you guys might not work consistently. Some of you might work consistently. The easiest way to do this is to take an average, okay? So what I would do is say you don't work at all, okay? And you get money from family members, okay? Or maybe you took out extra student loans and that's what you live off of. You need to either A, ask your family members how much money they have given you in a month, or just go back and kind of look and average it out. Okay, so say for instance, you know, your mom gives you $30 a week. You take 30, you multiply that by 4, you get $120. That would be your take-home pay. Okay, maybe you took out an extra $6,000 for the entire semester to live off of from January till May. So you would take that $6,000, you would divide it by January, February, March, April, May. That's 5 months, and you would get that take-home pay, which is, I don't know, with math, maybe around $800. Okay. So everyone's is going to be different. Now, say you work weekly and your paychecks are not consistent. You want to go back at the previous month and take a look at each of your weekly paychecks, add those together, divide them by 4, and that's going to be your monthly take-home pay. It is not going to be exact unless you have a consistent job. And that's okay if it's not exact. We can average and it's fine. All right, so that's your monthly take-home pay. Everyone's is going to be different. Some might have $10, some might have $5,000. I don't know what you guys take home each month, but it's going to be different. What is not going to work is if you put zero, okay? Because you have to get money from somewhere. I know somewhere you are getting money, whether it's you did a one babysitting job, whatever it is, your monthly take-home pay will not be zero, all right? Once you get that figured out, you put that on your form, and then you're going to go to step 2. So with each main category, such as food, there's subcategories like groceries. You always start at your top and you work your way down. Add up each of the subcategories and you put that in the total, okay? So you're going to take a look over here and you're going to see all these different categories, okay? That's why I like to print this off and I like to write it down. You got charity, saving, housing, transportation, clothing, foods, flip over here, insurance, debts, all that stuff. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take a look at your budgeted and you're going to write an amount on there. And then you add up the total. Now, some of these categories can be left blank because they may not apply to you. So, for example, maybe you don't tithe and you don't give to charity. Your budgeted amount would be zero, and that would be completely fine. Maybe you are not spending money on laundry or you don't have children. You could put zero there, okay? What I will be looking for is that it's filled out. Whether there's an actual number or a zero, that is what I am looking for, okay? Some of you might have this entire category zero. You don't have a mortgage, you don't pay taxes, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, okay? That is completely fine, all right? What I want to focus on, if we go back to the directions, is pay attention to Dave's recommended percentages, okay? This helps you from keeping your budget balanced, which is right here. So I'm going to go back and show you guys this, okay? So right here, Dave Ramsey in each of these categories, this is how he does it, all right? He recommends that 10% of your income, maximum 15, should be spent on charity total, okay? And maybe some of you guys do practice this tithing. You know, the Bible talks about 10% of your income. So say you took home $1,000, 10% of that would be $100. So you should only be spending $100 minimum on charity, okay? Food, if your income is $100 and you should be only spending, 5% of that, you put that amount, that's how much you should be spending on food, okay? That's how I want you to be doing this budget. So what I would recommend doing before you even go through all of these actual, I want to spend this much on tithing and blah, 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 blah. This is what I do every month, okay? I take a look at these percentages that you see here on all of these categories, all of them. I take my monthly take-home pay, say it is $200. I'm going to figure out what 10% of $200 is, okay? And then that's 20 bucks. I like to write it off to the side. So I put 20 dash, and I also like to figure out what 15% is. So I'm going to figure out 15% is 30. So I write over here $20 to $30. So I know that's how much I have in my little frame to spend on charity, if I choose to. And then I'm going to do the same for food. I'm going to do the same for clothing. I'm going to do the same for saving. I'm going to do the same for transportation. I like to write it off to the side. Now, even if you don't end up spending that money, that's fine. It just shows you how much you should be spending. Okay, I hope that part makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to ask me. But like I said, I do that before I go through any of these categories. Even if they don't apply to me, I'm going to go through and I'm going to figure out what that 5 to 10% of my budget should be on each of these categories. Okay, so I do that. Then I'm going to go back through and I'm going to figure out how much I am going to budget for my food. I'm going to figure out how much I am going to budget for my groceries. I'm going to figure out how much I'm going to budget for my clothes within that frame. All right. Now, your goal is by the end to get down here, figure out your take-home pay, add up your totals from each category. So this total, this total, this total. You want it to be zero. Okay. So the money you are bringing in, and the money you are taking out should balance zero. Your goal is zero, okay? That's what I want you to do. If you do this form and your balance is not zero, you go through and you're trying to figure this out and you're like, oh my goodness, it's not zero. I want you to keep reworking it until you get a zero. That's how I'm going to be grading you, is I'm looking for that zero. Now, some of you, it might be impossible because you guys are undergraduates. Maybe you have a lot of debt that you have to pay each month, but you're not making the money to do so. So some of you guys, it's not going to say zero. If that is the case, you need to make sure that you contact me and you tell me that you're struggling filling this out because it's not reading a zero. Because when I go to grade this on April 19th or whenever I do it and I don't see zero, immediately I'm going to figure that you did this form wrong. Okay? You do not want to be spending money you don't have. So if you are filling this out and you don't have a zero balance, you have $600 left over and you're like, what the heck am I doing? You need to go back through and reconfigure where you are supposed to be spending your money, okay? So that may mean you have $600 left over and you're like, that's not right, it needs to read zero. But you look over here and you're like, oh, I'm allotting $100 for hair care and $200 for pocket money. You're going to want to take those out and you're not going to spend any money this month on hair and you're not going to have any extra pocket money. That's going to drop you to only $300. Okay. So it may take longer than 30 minutes, to be honest, because it takes me longer than 30 minutes some months to kind of go through and figure this out. All right. So that's what that step 3 is. You take your take home pay, which is your monthly income at the top, minus how much you've actually spent, and you want to get that zero balance. And like I said, I'm looking for that zero balance. Okay. If I do not see it, you should be emailing me and we should be working a way to get it down to a zero. Now, step 4 is when the month ends, you're going to put what you actually spent in your spent column. And that helps you make any adjustments for the next one. Okay, and I'll kind of go through and I'll explain that. But so far, I'm hoping that this is kind of making some sense. Okay, I want to stop presenting my screen and I want to show you guys my budget. And I'm going to hold it up so hopefully you can see it. So I use the Dave Ramsey every month, and it's going to look like chicken scratch. So you can kind of quickly see it. Okay, take a look at the back. That's when it starts to get really crazy, and I just write, and I have tons of extra pieces of paper, and I usually have a blank sheet so I can kind of go through and look at my monthly budget. So what I want to show you guys is how it takes a little bit to figure it out. All right. So like I said, this is my budget. I know you can't really see it that well. I'm going to try and hold it up to the screen as best you can. It's probably backwards, which isn't helping. But like you can see, I've got my money like I was talking about, so I know how much I should be spending. So for instance, for charity, 10 to 15% of my income, I'd write that off to the side, and then I figure out how much of it I'm actually going to be giving. Now, I did this one last year when I still had a ton of credit card debt, a ton of student loan debt. It was really depressing, which I actually ended up having to configure my budget so it got to a zero. So something to maybe scare you a little bit into not having credit card debt or student loan debt. My student loans were costing me $527 a month. That's with my undergrad and my graduate. Luckily, my husband does not have any debt. So it was my student loans. It's $527, okay, that I had to pay each month. No buts about it, because you get bills, okay? Not only that, but I had 3 credit cards and my husband had a car payment. Our credit cards now are paid off, which is the best feeling in the whole wide world, but we were spending about $1,300 a month paying off those credit cards because of the debt snowball. We've gone over that in some of the textbook stuff, but a lot of money of my income went to my debt. And when you see that, that's when it starts to be quite eye-opening that, hey, I'm spending way too much money on debt. I need to pay that off, and I need to figure out what am I doing wrong here so that way I can have enough money. Now, my budget looks a little bit different this year because, like I said, I have a little 6-month-old daughter, and we are working on one income. So it's important to really sit down and kind of work this out, and you're going to have a ton of rough drafts, and that's fine. And if you need help, all you need to do is just kind of email me. So I want to go through and do a quick little budget with you guys so you can see it. And if you guys have questions, let me know. All right, you ready? So we're going to go through the monthly cash flow plan just really quick for you guys. I know I went through how to figure it out, but we're going to do it again. All right. So I'm going to get ready to share my screen. Present now, my entire screen. Share it. Awesome. Okay. So I'm opening up my budget forms. Okay. So you are doing this for 1 month. You're choosing either February or you're choosing March. It is up to you. Okay. First thing you need to do, figure out your monthly take-home pay. All right. Hypothetically, we're going to say our monthly take-home pay is $1,000. So I would type up here or write it because I like to handwrite it, $1,000. Okay. Then I'm going to go through each of these categories. See where it says 5 to 15, 2 to 7, 10 to 15. I'm going to figure out the percentage of my monthly take-home pay, and I'm going to write it here in that time frame. So if we are $1,000, that means it's going to be 100. I'm terrible with math. Do not judge me. 1,000 times 15%, 150. That's sad. So $100 to $150 I'm going to spend on charity. I could, I don't have to, but I could. So I'm going to put that there. Same thing for food. I'm going to figure that out. 50 to 150. I could spend it. I don't have to. You're going to do that for each of the categories. Okay. That's step 2. Step 3, you're going to go through and you are going to now budget your money where it needs to go. Okay. So choose your first important category. Maybe it's debts. Maybe it's insurance. Okay. Maybe it's utilities. Maybe it's transportation. All right. For me, I always do charity. So I am going to spend 10% of my income on tithing. So I'm going to write up here $100. Charity and offerings, I'm just putting 0 because I'm just tithing straight to the church. And here is where I would write 100. Okay. What I also like to do is on a separate piece of paper, I like to have a running total so I can see how much of my money I have left. So I'd start with 1,000. I'd minus 100. I'm at $900. So now I have $900 to figure out where I'm going to put my money. I'm going to go over to food because you have to eat. Some of you guys live on campus. You don't have to pay money for groceries. Awesome. So maybe you just want to allot yourself a little bit of restaurant money to, go to the Taco Hut. That's what I did when I went to Olivet. PH4, delicious. I'm going to spend between 5 to 15%. So, my 5%, 15%, it's up to you. I'm going to put 0 for groceries because I don't have to buy groceries. But I'm going to give myself, that 5% of my $1,000, which is $50. I'm going to give myself $50 a month to go out to eat. Okay. Now you're going to see something called envelopes. This is something Dave Ramsey practices as well as his daughter, is they put cash in envelopes. They don't use debit cards, credit cards to pay for these items. It's cash. Once it's gone, it's gone. I love doing that because you physically see you only have $50 a month where you're going to spend it. Once it's gone, it's gone. You don't have to though, but that's just what those represent. So now we're down 50. So over here I have 900 minus, 1,000 minus 100 minus 50. Where am I at? $850. Now I got to allot some more. Saving, always recommend, make sure that you're saving some of your money, 10 to 15%. I'd put that over there in my budget. Remember, if you're not doing a retirement fund, put an X through it. If you don't need a college fund, put an X through it. Whatever you're saving, you're going to put here. And you're just going to go through each of these categories until you've got 0 here spent. Okay. Now remember, it's okay if this entire insurance category is left 0 because you don't pay for your insurance. I'm not going to think differently of you because a lot of you guys are still under your parents. So that's completely fine if that is left blank, or maybe your work pays for your insurance. The same thing with utilities. If you're not spending anything on utilities, please write 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, so the bottom is 0. So I know you are not spending any of that money. Your goal is to get this to be a 0 balance. Okay? Does that make sense? If not, let me know. Okay? So taking a look at this monthly cash flow plan, so you can see mine, even though it's, not the best. I wish I had like some cool things. So you can see I added up these, once again, it's backwards, but some of these you can see the erase marks. It took me a little bit to make sure that I got that money till I got all the way down to my golden hour right here where I got my bam, my 0. Okay? That is your goal. It's going to take you a little bit. You can see I've got all this crazy stuff on the back, all right? But you're doing this for 1 month, February or March. It's up to you. Just one. That is the first step of your project, is your monthly cash flow plan. Your second step is your allocated spending, okay? Which, if we go back to our budget assignment, it talked about your allocated spending plan. You're going to track your spending for the entire month of March or February. It's up to you. And you're going to keep track of all your purchases. Now, when we're talking about an allocated spending plan, Dave Ramsey has an actual form where you write down every single thing that you spend. You don't have to do that, okay? Notice the requirements for the project are a cover page, a monthly cash flow plan, and reflection paper. I don't need to see an actual allocated spending plan. What I would suggest that you do is, what I usually do, is I use an app on my phone. There's something called Mint where it tracks to your bank statements. I also currently, because I did the Financial Peace University through Parkview, which is the church that I attend, I have access to Every Dollar, which is Dave Ramsey's way of his budget. So you can see here, boop, it tracks and it logs all of my transactions, okay? I don't need to see any of that. That is for your own personal use to make sure that you are spending your money how you should be. Now, some people prefer to do an Excel spreadsheet where they just like to sit and track every single thing that gets spent. That is up to you. Also, in the directions, it talked about balancing your checkbook. So taking a look at your checkbook and kind of seeing how much money that you are spending. Also, if you are a organized person like myself, maybe you have a planner, a budget planner. This one is a happy planner. I got this last year and I absolutely fell in love with it. I got the insides. You can switch out to whatever it is. It's got expense trackers. This is fresh because I was going to start this for the new year. So every time I spent something, I would write it down on here and it would go into my little month. So this is my first month. I flip it open. And this one even had cooler pages that were updated. So I was tracking all of my expenses. Every time I went to the store, just did it. All right. It takes a lot of work, but it's awesome knowing where you spend your money. And then you end up maybe about 2 weeks in realizing I'm going to stop going to the store so much because I don't want to fill this out. Okay. But remember, I'm never going to see any of this. I don't want to see your bank statements. I don't want to see screenshots of how you've been tracking your money. It's for your own personal use. Okay. So once you do that, whatever method you choose, maybe some of you are going to do an Excel spreadsheet, some of you are going to buy a planner, some of you are going to just keep track on your phone. It's up to you. But what I will be checking is, if we go back to talking about that monthly cash flow plan, is our little spent categories. Okay. I will be looking to make sure that you told me how much total you spent of that. Now, here's where I'm going to be way more lenient than Dave Ramsey would be, okay? I am going to be okay if you spent more than what you budgeted. Why? This is a learning experience. I don't expect you to get a perfect 0-0 every month, okay? Eventually, hopefully, you'll be able to do it, but I don't expect you to do this for your first month, okay? So I'm going to look on your monthly cash flow plan that you wrote, whatever it is that you budgeted, and then I'm looking for a spent amount. So please make sure you write your spent amount on there, okay? And then if you want to turn in receipts, I don't want them. So keep all those. Be honest with the amount that you're spending. Please don't exaggerate. Don't feel embarrassed. If you allotted only $50 to go out to eat and you spent $300, put that on there, okay? And then when I go to read your reflection paper, be honest. Why did you spend that much money? Maybe how did it make you feel? And all that stuff. Okay. It is not going to be perfect. It usually took me about 3 months of doing this till I got a pretty good budget down. All right. So if you guys have questions, feel free to email me, contact me, whatever you want to do. Like I said, that monthly cash flow plan, it could be typed or scanned if handwritten. I do need the Dave Ramsey monthly cash flow plan turned in, okay? I don't want to see an Excel spreadsheet. I want to see this, okay? So however you choose to even retype this, make it your own, make it just, pretty and colorful. It's up to you. Or just print these, handwrite them, scan them in. As long as they're legible, it'll be good. But remember, legible is not good if it looks all crazy. Make sure you turn in a nice, clean copy, okay? If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to stop this recording. I'm going to post it. Yeah, that's about it.